A lot of addiction issues. I was toxic relationship.
I'm over here failing as an entrepreneur. I'm over here trying to get something.
I didn't even know what the heck marketing was at that point.
Start telling yourself things that aren't necessarily true.
I never made decisions based on money because I didn't have it.
When my mother passed away, it was closing a chapter for me.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Al here, and welcome to the 7-Figure Interviews. Today we have Rick Barker from MIB.
Yes.
Okay, what is that? So
MIB is Men in Black, but in my world, it's Music Industry Blueprint.
I love it.
So, you know how marketers are. It's like years ago, Blueprint was like a super hot word.
It
was.
was.
I'm like Googling a Music Industry Blueprint. It's available, so I bought it. So all my people just say I'm part of the MIB, Music Industry Blueprints, the podcast, and everything's Music Industry Blueprint. So
Love it. So the audience knows who you are, because I don't want to butcher it. You've had some involvement with humongous superstars in the music industry.
Well, yeah, one in particular, I was blessed to have been part of the team that launched the career of Taylor Swift. So I was technically her second manager. Her first manager was with her when she got to Nashville, but when she signed her record deal and moved on, I actually worked for Big Machine Records, and she didn't have a manager at the time of her start of her Big Machine career. The label was kind of taking care of that, and they brought her to me, and I had come from radio. Radio was my background, but I've also been one of those people that asked questions and solved problems, so I had created the first ever radio tour where people actually got paid, which put me on the radar of record companies going, wait, we usually pay radio, and now you've reverse engineered this thing and you've got something special. So I ended up getting hired by the record company, and then they sent her to me to take her on that tour. And 6 months later, her parents asked me to be her manager, and I was with her, up until 2008. It was amazing. During the hard part, when we're having
where you actually have to launch her.
Well, and you have to go out on your first tours, and you have to understand this whole concept of fans and growing up in the industry now, and making your own rules and being who you are as a person. And one of the things that I said to her, and they documented this in Polestar, was, if we're willing to do what no one else is willing to do, then there's a chance that we can get results that no one else got. So that was staying after and putting the fans first. Now, a lot of artists at the time, I love my fans. Yeah, but they weren't doing 3.5-hour meet and greets after shows like she was. They weren't handwriting letters. They weren't getting on phone calls. They weren't.
The extra mile.
Their words weren't matching their actions. Her words and her actions matched up, and that was a blessing to be
Created
around.
something special.
It was. It was a lot of fun.
I like it.
It was a lot of fun.
What got you involved in all this before anything? Like before you joined a record label, before you said, hey, I'm a radio, before all of that, what started you on kind of this path?
I've always loved music. Part of my story is, I had parents. My mom was divorced and married 5 times. My dad, same situation. I went to 3 different high schools. And every year I was having to make new friends. Every year it was like whichever group took me in, I became a chameleon. I was never myself. I just kind of blended into everyone else. The sophomore and junior years, I was in Alabama. The Christians and the jocks took me in. I went to church and I played soccer. Then I moved to live with my dad my senior year to California, and the stoners took me in, and I got turned on to drugs, and I started doing drugs, and I have a very addictive personality anyway. There's no middle for me. It's like
high or low.
It's either off or it's on. There is no idle. There is no neutral. And I got hooked on cocaine, and it took over my life. From like 18 to 22, I was high every day, and when I finished, I was about 115 pounds. I was addicted to crack cocaine, and I got on my knees and I said, God, just let me die. I was like sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I woke up the next day, and I haven't had a craving since that day, but I needed some more humbling experiences in my life. So there was some jail in my story and things like that. But what I realized after a while is that I had to play catch up. So the time that I should have been in college, or that traditional go to college,
education,
I was a drug dealer. I was a drug addict. I was not the person you wanted to spend time with, but I was always an entrepreneur. It's like, you want to drug dealers are pretty good entrepreneurs. They know how to get things fixed if they fast.
Supply
if they
and demand, yes.
Absolutely. Here's a little taste. You know, it was like, so I'm like, whoa, this is interesting, but radio is what I always wanted to do. So as soon as I got sober, I went, heard this thing about internships at radio stations, went and applied for an internship, got my first internship, and ended up getting an internship at Kiss FM in Los Angeles, where Rick Dees, you know, he's the most famous guy that came out of Kiss FM. And then I got invited to be on the radio myself in Santa Barbara, did my whole radio career. But in the meantime, I've always loved music, just never had I'm not a boom, 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 sit there and do the same thing over and over. Right. So I would go find talented people, and I could hustle them. I could sell someone else. I couldn't do it myself, but I could sell other people.
So the drive came from this kind of rock bottom.
I don't know. I've always had it. You know, it's one of those things. It's like, well, so where did that come from? I don't know that we ever know where it comes from if it's something that we've always done. You know, I never made decisions based on money because I never had money. Right. So later on, when I had to make a decision, do I stay with Taylor and be a millionaire and probably end up divorced and probably end up that going out in alimony and child support, knowing what divorce did to my family? I never made decisions based on money because I didn't have it. But now it's like, I know how to make it. Right. You know, it's like I'm constantly learning. It's like my wife laughs. She's like, oh my gosh, she goes, you spend like $35,000, $40,000 a year on coaching and mentorship. I said, because I'm getting my master's degree right now. You know, it's like I didn't want to go. I wasn't a good student. I did just enough to stay eligible for sports. It was either A's or D's. There weren't B's. I never got a B because it was either I loved it and I got A's or what do I need to stay eligible?
Like it.
There was no middle for me ever. And now it's like when I felt like I was behind the 8 ball, I said, okay, I'm not going to go to college at 23 and retake all the stuff I had taken for the first 12 years. I didn't need more science. I wasn't going to be a doctor. So I started taking psychology, human behavior, marketing classes, communication classes. I was already on the radio at the junior college taking a communications class because I wanted to see if I could pass a class where I already had the job. Everyone's going to get a communications degree to get the job that I already had. I'm like, yeah, this is just going to be fun. So I used it as part of my radio shtick. But I've just always been a self-learner. And I love the fact today that you can get any information you need by going to Professor Google or Professor Siri or Alexa and just ask them and it'll pop up. And I love that. And that's why I love being in the internet space because I'm able to help more people achieve their dreams and get quality information and call BS when BS needs to be called because that's what happened in the music industry, man. It's like Taylor and I show up and all of a sudden she's having success. And every oil dad from Texas is showing up in Nashville with his daughter in cowboy boots and sundresses and a blank check thinking that's the magic ticket and I can make their daughter the next Taylor Swift. And I'm like, you guys do not even understand. But what I found out is there is no chamber of commerce for the music business. So I decided to become that.
Amazing. What's that like? So you saw a need for that,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because it was missing.
People keep having babies that want to be famous. It's like the red ocean keeps filling over and over as long as people are having sex. And they go, I want to be a singer. It's like, ta-da! So I kind of extracted, you hear people like Steve Larson talk about, everybody talks about red ocean, blue ocean, but he really dives deep in it. It's like, okay, the red ocean is going to keep filling. But was there anyone who'd had success in the digital age that jumped out over here into this blue ocean and started helping? That's what I decided to do.
So tell me about that. What was that like that you've now managed Taylor and now you realize this, right? Because it sounds like you're like Professor Google, Alexa.
Well,
right?
here's what happened is the business changed. So it went from, in order to be successful, you needed to have a label because they controlled distribution, and distribution was radio. They controlled the relationships with the promoters and the tours. That controlled you getting in front of an audience. So everything that you needed to be successful was here. So you had to get in. So, and we just thought, wow, everyone we see here on the radio is the best in the world. And then the internet came along. They're like, oh, wait a minute.
Things changed.
So that person, she's 300 pounds. And she's not as pretty as this person, but she's having more success. The internet neutralized everything. Oh my goodness. It doesn't care what pronoun you prefer to be called. It doesn't care what economic background you have. The best music wins, period. Doesn't matter where it comes from. So that happened. Then all of a sudden you've got the CD babies that pop up and say, hey, we can also get your music out into the world. And disc makers, we can print your CDs for you. And then Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Hey, by the way, we can now get your music in front of the world. And I said, that's where I can win. I can show people it's not about who you know. It's not about wanting to be famous. If you've got quality product that you want to get out into the world, let's utilize these resources that are now available to us and let's do it. So the first thing I had to do was really change the mindset of, I need to get discovered. I need to be on a label. I need to win American Idol. No, you need to have quality product and an audience that wants to consume that product. I do not care how good your hamburger is. If you open it up in a town of vegetarians, you screwed yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
But people are constantly trying to feed the world, and I'm like, no, let's just go find your hungry audience and let's feed them.
Love that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's like an epiphany for you, right? You're
Yes.
just seeing this internet thing happening. You see now the controlled lockdown channels of distributions
Yeah.
are no longer the playing field.
Handcuffs were
Broken
broke.
off.
Chains were broke. Yep.
So what was your first step kind of
So,
to enter this
The
world?
first step for me is realizing that, right after I left Taylor, I started consulting some of the major labels. And I was making a lot of money consulting. But everyone kept coming to me, and what they really wanted was me to say, okay, I hear your music, you're really good, let me go introduce you to somebody at a record label. They wanted to get to that label person. There was still this facade. So instead of trying to fight it, what I did is I went to all my friends. So there's this term that you'll hear sometimes in the industry called unsolicited material. And what that means is if they don't know you, you just can't go up and hand them music. Because if you hand them music and all of a sudden an artist that's signed to their label records something like that, they can go, wait a minute, you stole my music.
Right,
so they're just like, we're just not gonna take any of it. So they can't get to the A&R person, and they weren't able to get to some of these publishers and people. So I decided that I was gonna host my first live event. So I went to all the people that, and I say this respectfully, that the normal people couldn't get to, and said, I'll pay you $500 for an hour of your time. They're used to doing it for free.
Right.
The term, hey, let me take you to lunch and pick your brain. So they love talking about what they do, but usually it's just with other industry types. I said, I would love to interview you. I'll pay you $500 for your time, but I get to take that interview and I'm going to create a course to start educating people on what it is you're looking for. They all want to know how to get to you. I'm going to show them.
So you actually went to those
people. Get
people.
it from the horse's mouth.
Love it.
Not, this is what Rick thinks you need to do to be signed. This is what Rick thinks. Who cares what Rick thinks?
I think this is, by the way, you guys need to pay attention to this, because I see a lot of this happening even in our marketing outside of music, outside of this, is people think that you got to be their experts themselves, and they don't realize, and even what we're doing here, right? We're interviewing, and I'm bringing in the experts because, hey, I'm not an expert on I know nothing about music.
What I tell people,
right?
I love what you just said, is I tell people, I don't want to be the expert on everything. I want to have access to the experts on everything. And if you don't take anything else away from this conversation that we're having, if you always err on the side of humble and gracious, you will always win.
My first mentor told me this, and it didn't make sense to me. I was 16 years old. I was unloading and loading his trucks. He was doing auctions. He was an auctioneer. And he told me, look, it's better to be the smallest link on the big chain than the big links.
Yes.
And it didn't make sense to me for the longest time until I was about 23 and I opened up my first store, and I was like, now my suppliers are sending me products for free. They're sending me things.
Absolutely.
And I'm the small link. I'm the small link now.
Well, and what it is, and people always ask me sometimes, they're like, Rick, you always talk about your drug addiction and your recovery and you bring up God. And I'm like, look, here's why I do that. It's like, I want to show people your past does not define your future. I'm living proof. How could you go from selling drugs and being homeless to launching one of the biggest stars in the world? So I share that story. I don't expect people to believe what I believe, but you've got to believe in something.
Right.
And that's why it's like I sit there and
something
I say,
bigger than you.
Yes, because if you're the biggest thing, ooh,
You're in trouble.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about that. It's like, and sometimes, respectfully, we drink our own Kool-Aid. Sometimes we believe our own hype. People will come, and when I do interviews, they'll say, so tell us about everything you did for Taylor. I said, let me start by saying this. I don't take any credit for anything that Taylor accomplished because everyone's given the same tools. It's like going to school. Same teacher, same classroom, same books, Same hours in the day. Why are there about 3 people that just nail it and the rest do just enough to get by? Because that's life. That's how it works. Every artist that's out there had the same tools that she had. They had the same stages, the same whatever. Why did it work for her? Why? Because she found her audience. They loved her. She loved them back. And that's how she won. I give people the same advice all the time. Not everyone takes it.
Of course not.
They just don't do it. So when I saw that was happening, I did that live event. So I said, hey guys, I'm bringing in 5 people that you would normally not get a chance to hear from. We're going to bring them in. I'm calling it the Music Industry Blueprint Live event. February 23rd actually is coming up on 7 years that I did that event. It was in 2013. And I told the people, I said, thank you. I said, I'm going to sell you this stuff, but I haven't created anything yet. So I charged $97 to come into the room. We sold 200 tickets, did 20 grand there. Sold like 70 people bought this $500 program that hadn't even been created yet.
You didn't know yet.
And now we were in business. And because I wanted something, I did not want to leave the consulting because that was really good space, but I wanted something that if someone could not get lunch, or I did not have the time to speak to everyone, that there was a place that they could go to get this information. And that's how my online business started.
So you kind of like saw the opportunity. You're like, hey, there's this whole audience over here that I don't have the time to actually do it because I have maybe
but they
have a need for
yes.
it, and I just can't service them on the level that I need
But
to.
what I didn't like was hearing the stories of the families that spent $300,000 because they hired the people that were in Taylor's band, and this producer did this, and this guy sent you out on radio tour. There was no chamber of commerce for the music business. Here's the part of the music business that's terrible. The consumer does not have to pay to consume your product. They can get it on iTunes or Spotify. So think about a business where you could just walk in, take whatever you want, and leave. How long would those businesses stay in business? They wouldn't very long in this traditional business. Your rewards are not in direct proportion to the work that's put in. Most businesses, you throw money, manpower, equipment, whatever it takes to do it. You can do everything right in the music industry and still not have success. So what I had to do was start changing the mindset to say, okay, what does success mean to you? I said, let's think of it this way. If you could make 50 to 60 grand a year doing what you love, you're making more than most people doing what they don't love.
What they hate.
So let's redefine what success means. Being at the Grammys, that's not success. I know people that won Grammys that are broke right now. I know people that won Grammys that haven't recorded music in years. So we have to start redefining what success means to that person. So I do a lot of mindset, a lot of that shit.
A lot of rewiring.
Exactly, and then say, look, I don't care if you put your music out there, but no one ever taught you how to register it, you're not going to get paid.
That's right.
So I go into the business setup, and then I start showing them how to use the tools that they have available to them. And it's been fantastic, but then they all kept going, Rick, will you manage me? Will you manage me? And I said, well, you don't need a manager. You need a coach. You need a consultant. You need a mentor.
You need somebody to tell you what to do next.
Well, those were the words that we use in our space. So one of my ClickFunnels coaches, Dave Espino, he said, Rick, he was looking at some sales copy, and he goes, do they use those terms inside the music industry? I'm like, I wish. I said, it'd be so much easier right now. I said, I'm trying to convince these people to do the right thing. He says, well, what is it that they want? I said, they want management. Every day someone hits me on Instagram, yo, be my manager. All genres, everywhere. I need a manager, I need a manager, I need a manager. He said, what's holding you back? I said, Dave, I don't want a bunch of mediocre artists running out there saying that they're my manager. I don't want them calling me every day. That's not what they need. What they need is structure, systems, guidance, mindset, accountability, door opening when opportunities are available, preparing them for these opportunities. He goes, isn't that what consulting and mentorship is? I'm like, holy cow, you're right. I said, so I just need to get into my webinar and reframe my offer. I need to say, there's a personal manager and a day-to-day. Day-to-day is not what I'm offering. This is what I'm offering. And is having the same guy that Taylor and her family paid to manage her career, is it worth it to be able to get questions asked of me on a weekly basis? So I just restructured. I was doing the same exact thing, but I was hitting a brick wall. As soon as I made that offer, I raised my prices, I took away my refund policy, and all I said was this: if $175 a month to be able to get me to answer your questions, you can't validate that, you're the wrong person for me, you're the wrong person for this business, and I'm the wrong person for you. I did. I pre-qualified by making sure that I had the right person, because what I had found is that if someone paid $500 to come in, there's not a lot of pain if you don't do the work for $500. But if you just showed up at all the parties and told everybody that you worked with Rick, that's what I didn't want.
Right.
Because I told them it can also backfire you. Because if you tell someone you're working with me and they look at your website and your socials and see that they're garbage, they're going to say, no, you spent money with Rick, but you're not doing the work. So why would we invest in you? Because that's where we're at today, folks, is people want to invest in small businesses that are already working. The startup, the venture capitalists that came in, that all they did was raise money, and then the businesses never started. So now they're like, you know what, they got us there before. Yeah, we heard this idea. Silicon Valley, everybody was raising money. Do you know how much money was raised for businesses that never formed? Billions.
Sure. Yeah.
Billions. So now people are going, okay, you go ahead and get your idea off the ground first. Let's see the
let's
ball
see the
rolling.
track record.
You start the fire, like Russell talks about the spark.
Yeah.
Once the spark and then that little flame, we can douse it at that point.
Of course.
But we're not going to sit there and try to light your flame. If you can't see the tools that are ready right in front of you, with any business, I'm just music now, anybody wanting to do anything, all the tools to get your message to the people are out there and they're free. And if you're not using them and you're waiting for permission and you're waiting for someone to anoint you and give you permission, I now give you permission to go change the world with whatever it is that you do. Go be a social authority rock star. Go out there and speak in your spaces. Go out there and solve people's problems. Don't sit around waiting for someone in the industry or some guru to give you permission. You now have permission. If you don't do it, that's on you. It's not on us. It's not on our programs. It's not on anybody that you've ever spent money with, because all of those programs have some nugget that you can use, but it's up to you to use it.
I say this, I'm so in agreement with what you just said. I say this regularly. I say it's not the whole picture. It's the first step.
Yep.
And that's all you need.
Yep.
Because as soon as you get any traction in anything that you do, you can build momentum.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people say, hey, I went to this event, I listened to all this stuff, but there's only one thing I learned from it. Whoa, that one thing.
Take that one thing and run with
can
it.
turn everything around, because it changes your mindset. It rewires the way you think, and that ripple effect. Have you ever read Ready, Fire, Aim?
Yes.
All right, so it's that last.
I listen to it. I don't read books. I'm an audible guy.
Don't worry, thank you. I don't have time. I'm driving. I'm like, all right, let's play the
podcast
book.
and
Yeah,
audible.
yeah.
That's how I roll.
So it's that little droplet, that little extra droplet that makes everything work,
Right.
and gets you into action, and then you can build momentum. It's dousing the fire.
Well,
the way you
and that's the thing. It's like, and I feel so much pride in getting something rolling that someone then comes and says, hey man, tell me how you did that. You know, I'm here with all these amazing people that are speaking. I'm on the 2 Comma Club cruise with multiple millionaires, and I'm showing some of them just some little Instagram thing or an app that I just found, and they're just in awe. And then I go and I look at their stuff and I'm like, I am so far ahead of most people in this room in the social space, because I've been teaching musicians that weren't taught, go run Facebook ads, go run Instagram ads. Everyone here is trained to go pay. And I'm like, no, let's go love on people first, get some social proof, and then pay on that.
Yeah.
Let's go do this thing. So I'm like, wow, this is where I can contribute in this space. It's like, not many people here want to be musicians, but what I tell them is I help creatives find their voice and get it out to the right audience. It doesn't matter to me what it is that if you're doing something for positive, if you are wanting to make an impact on people in a positive way, I can show you how to do that using free organic traffic. That's what I teach. And that's what I teach in the music space. And it's the same exact thing. It's like, I don't care who it is. It's like, it's be nice to people, solve their problems, quit always talking about yourself. We don't care every meal that you're having, but if you can make it fun, we'll look at it. And remember, social is about the consumer, not about the person who's serving it up. Our job's to serve them. If somebody walked in your restaurant and you don't know them, you just don't come down and lay food at them. You don't know them. You don't know what their dietary needs are. You don't know everything. So why don't we get as much information on the front end as we can, so that way when you sit down and you serve them and you know that they are looking for this steak or you're looking for
You
this.
know what to
It's
bring
the
to your
best
restaurant.
thing that they've ever had because you listened and you paid attention. Too much of this sometimes, not enough of this. I always tell people, I go into a room, I'm just kind of looking. and I'm going to hear a problem, and I'm going to go solve that problem. I always tell people, I guarantee you, never be the smartest guy in the room, but I'm going to ask really good questions. And if there's the ability for me to either solve it or connect you with someone who can solve your problem, guess what? When you see my phone call, you'll pick it up. When you see my email, you'll open it. Why aren't your emails getting open for those of you in that space? Because you're not providing enough value. I sent an email out the other night to 10,000 people, Friday night, 7:44 at night. I said, guys, it's 7:44 on a Friday, just finished up a cigar at the cigar shop and wrapped up this course, and here's your weekend action takers bonus. And I had a 42% open rate on the weekend and made $5,000 off of a $20 offer off people who had never spent a dime with me before, because all week long I just showed up giving them cool stuff.
You helped them.
I just give them some stuff. It's like reciprocity is a very powerful word. And it's a word that not a lot of people, I'm all over reciprocity.
Abide by it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Do me a favor though, go to rickbarker.com. Check out the website. Follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back at Rick Barker Music, and let me know that this is where you found me, and I'll send you something cool.
This is all about helping them
Absolutely.
get further, and that's why I asked you to come here.
No, I appreciate you, man. Duh. I'm already eyeing a hat.
Yeah.
I'm the blueprint guy. I'm taking the blue one.
Absolutely. We got
Toss
shirts,
it.
hats.
You guys got to see this stuff. Now, if you're going to try to get people to come in and give you information, have cool swag.
Yeah, you gotta have
Look at
cool
this.
swag.
I'm the blueprint guy. So
there you go.
it's the blueprint hat.
It says you got this right on the side, right on the thing, because I know you do.
Well, there you go. my employees gave me this. So it's like they'll say something, I'll always go, well, there you go. So for the girls for Christmas.
Yeah, we'll definitely, you guys
Well,
have
there
to
you
check
go.
out Rick's stuff. It is, I wouldn't have brought him here. First of all, he wouldn't have been highly recommended by real big players in the marketing space. Plus, he's done some humongous things that can help you do the same.
Appreciate you.
Of course.
Boom, we're out.
Thank you so much. See you guys next time.